Join nearly 1,400 entrepreneurs and students at the 2013 Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization National Conference in Chicago, October 31st through November 2nd. Visit ceo.org for more information. That's c-e-o.org.
This is Michael Lukes from the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization, here with Kelsey Meyer, co-founder and president of Influence & Co. Kelsey, thanks a lot for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. Nice to talk.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Influence & Co.
Yeah, so Influence & Co. is a company that really assists individuals and companies in building their credibility and influence online. So the very specific niche that we focus on for doing this is getting bylined articles coming from our clients published into publications that reach their target audience. So instead of having a quote from them or a spotlight on them, we're actually portraying them as the industry expert to then bring that credibility to them and bring more clients and more business to them.
Have you always been entrepreneurial?
Yes, I think I definitely have. My mom and dad used to joke that my neighbors were going crazy because every week I would have a different thing that I was selling them, from, borrowing their rocks and painting them to selling those back. And then actually when I was in college was when I started my first company with a good friend of mine. So definitely from an early age I knew that, starting companies is something that really drove me and really fascinated me.
So were they rock smiley faces, or did you do little paintings on the rocks? I want to know more about this.
I did everything. No, the rocks was probably not my best product. Later that turned into making pillows and a neighborhood newsletter. So I honestly think I was knocking on my neighbors' doors about once a week, and strangely enough, they always bought it.
Now, helping young entrepreneurs get their voice heard through media is a passion of yours. What are some ways that young entrepreneurs can start to establish themselves as an influencer and expert on a specific topic or industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is honestly how Influence & Co. got our start, is that, we were working with an investor who had started a few companies and he was having a rough time getting exposure, and he was having a harder time having people take him seriously because he was a young entrepreneur. So it's something that's really important for young entrepreneurs, and the ways that I see it working best is doing things like we do, working with a company with us or doing it on their own, of writing for niche publications like Under 30 CEO or Young Entrepreneur, things where they can really tell their story and their message. Also making sure that they're interacting with other industry experts. So something that we've realized through the stuff we do is that a lot of people like to be interviewed, and when you asked to interview me, I was flattered. So I think that young entrepreneurs, they can a lot of times interview other experts in their field to kind of like have that borrowed equity of being seen with that person. And then also, keeping up on social media and making sure that they're contributing to a conversation and having new opinions and not just retweeting or, commenting on what everyone else is doing.
So building off that point, what are some other common mistakes that young entrepreneurs make when trying to promote themselves and their startups?
I think the most common mistake that we see is people trying to be too salesy. So they think, I'm going to write an article for this publication and I should write it almost like a press release of what my company's doing and how great we are. And the readers don't want that, and the editors sure as heck don't want that. So that's something that we really coach people on, is you can still get that exposure and you can get the, people seeing you as an expert and viewing your company as in a positive light without having to talk about how great you are. So instead, actually add value to the readership. Give tips on things that you've seen that you've done well or that you've seen, could use improvement, and actually try to add value and be educational instead of just being promotional and advertorial.
Yeah, that's a great point. I couldn't agree with that more. And on behalf of CEO, I want to thank you for agreeing to speak at the upcoming CEO National Conference in Chicago, which will be October 31st through November 2nd. What will you be speaking about?
Yes, so I am so excited, first of all, because I attended the CEO conference as a student, and it was one of the best experiences I ever had in college, and really the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing today. So going back, I'm going to be speaking really about how to scale a startup. So we started about 2 years ago with myself and my co-founder, John Hall, and we've since grown to about 50 employees that we have on staff, and that's been a really exciting time and really challenging. And I think that a lot of things that I learned in school, even in my entrepreneurial club, was about starting a business and less about how do you actually scale a team, how do you keep that company culture the same when you're adding on more people, and how do you put those processes in place to where you can keep the same, core business that you're doing, but grow it really quickly. So that's what I'm going to be speaking about, scaling a business, and I'm really thrilled.
What interests you about working with young entrepreneurs?
I think just the excitement and the passion that so many young entrepreneurs have. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about, that since a lot, it's different for everyone. Everyone's at different stages in their life, but a lot of young entrepreneurs might not be married yet or have children yet. So they don't have a lot of other responsibilities that are holding them back, so they really can go full force into running with an idea, and I just love seeing that passion from so many young entrepreneurs. And also a lot of them haven't been jaded yet by, working in a huge company and being discouraged by things, or, having some sort of negative career, and so, they a lot of times are very optimistic, and I think that that's really an exciting thing. And I think that especially college entrepreneurs, that's a great time to start a company because everyone wants to help you. So I think it's just exciting to see
In your
people,
opinion,
running with what they're passionate
what do you think the
about.
importance of entrepreneurship education is?
I think it's extremely important because I think that something that a lot of entrepreneurial majors or minors or just even entrepreneurial organizations on campus do is they challenge students to kind of get outside their comfort zone, and they also challenge students to be problem solvers. So even if you have no interest in starting a company one day, I would always suggest people to take any classes that are around entrepreneurship because it's going to help you in whatever path your career takes. And I think that, a lot of people, there's a big debate going on can entrepreneurship be taught, or, are the skill set that makes a good entrepreneur something that you're born with? And I really believe that it can be taught if it's taught through experiential learning. When I was at Mizzou, they had the Entrepreneur Alliance that everything we did was speaking to CEOs, going out and touring different co-working spaces and talking to entrepreneurs and doing pitch competitions, and everything was experiential, and that's what I think a lot of entrepreneurial programs do right. So I think if they continue doing that, it's just extremely valuable.
Why would you recommend that young people
students
attend events like the CEO National Conference?
Because when you get into whatever career you're going to do, you're going to have to know how to network with people. And that's one of the biggest things that I learned at the CEO National Conference. I remember Arel Moody, who we've actually worked with now with our company, so it's really exciting to kind of see that go full circle. But I remember him getting up and saying, everyone, high five the person next to you and go talk to someone you don't know. And if those things weren't happening, I think it would have been a lot harder to kind of learn how to network. So that's one thing, is that you'll get that opportunity that you really don't get in many other instances. And then at the CEO conference, you're getting to listen to and speak to some of the most amazing entrepreneurs. I honestly feel extremely lucky to get to speak because I think that a lot of these people are, people that I look up to that are speaking. So, you get access to people that you otherwise wouldn't. And then for me, it was really about the confidence it gave me and the inspiration that it gave me to really go with what I was wanting to do. So seeing that there were other young people who wanted to run companies, and that me and my friend Megan weren't, just dorky, and our friends teased us about being so obsessed with what we were doing, really getting to meet other young people that are passionate about the same things you are. I think that's just a really invaluable
what's the best piece of
experience.
advice you could give to young entrepreneurs?
I think the best advice that I could give is the best idea to advice that I could give is really tell your idea to everyone. So one of my biggest pet peeves is when I meet an entrepreneur, and this is young entrepreneur, old entrepreneur, this is anyone with an idea, and they say, oh, well, I have this amazing idea and it's going to revolutionize this industry, but I can't tell you, or we need to sign an NDA because I'm scared someone's going to steal it. And I honestly forget who told me this, so I wish I could give them credit. Someone told me once that if you tell someone your idea, and they faster than you did when you thought of it first, then you had already, then that's fine, because it obviously wasn't something that you were pushing hard enough on. And that, I just think the idea of keeping things in because you're scared someone's going to steal it is absurd. So the biggest advice I can tell to young people is share your idea with everyone, because someone's going to give you advice that you would have never heard if you kept it in, and someone could even be your next business partner or your next investor or your first client, but you would never know that if